It's Call Digest Wednesday live from Lagos. Well, the good news this morning is that the federal government, the Nigerian authorities rather, may have admitted that the government negotiators may not have been speaking with the real leaders of the Boko Haram sect. Now, this is coming more than 2 weeks after announcing a ceasefire deal. This position emerged at the National Council of State yesterday, a meeting presided over by Mr. President himself and Akwa Ibom State Governor, who also doubles as the PDP, chairman of the PDP Governors Forum, Gospel Akpabio, briefed journalists on the outcome of the meeting and also insisted that no agreement has been reached. We're going to hear him out now, and when we come back, we'll find out more on that discussion. Don't go away.
The Republic of Chad was made, and that some persons who acted on behalf of Boko Haram and who claimed to have authority also had discussions with them, and then some Nigerian officials were with them. And then, of course, no agreement has been reached yet. It's just that the press may probably misunderstood what was reported. The discussions are ongoing. What came out from the National Security Advisor's briefing was the fact that the president will do everything possible to ensure the release of those young girls and to ensure the protection of lives and properties. And that will include dialogue where you can have the people to dialogue with, because you cannot dialogue with people who are faceless. And so we must do everything possible to ensure that on both sides, the casualties are minimized and that peace returns to the country in the shortest possible time. We are all very concerned, and we look forward to a day where the real Boko Haram people will come out and actually have a direct dialogue with Nigerians so that peace can return to the northeastern region.
Akwa Ibom State Governor, as well as PDP Governors Forum Chairman Godswill Akpabio, saying that indeed Nigeria and its authorities are looking forward to that very day where the real Boko Haram figureheads will come up and then we have a real dialogue with them. I'm joined now in our live studio by Bola Oba, a veteran public affairs analyst, joining us again this morning. Good morning, and thank you for joining us. Prior to this time, Boko Haram also released a new video telling it to the world that there was no such thing as a ceasefire deal and that they have actually married off the girls to their own members. You heard what Gospel Akpabio said. It actually said there was no real or actual agreement. Where did the ceasefire deal now come in?
Even had the temerity to be accusing the journalist for misunderstanding what was said.
And we heard the CDS say it live that there was a ceasefire, actually.
And the Chief of Defense Staff. If you say it's the CDS, some people at home will not quite know the magnitude of what you're saying. The Chief of the Nigerian Defense Staff, all the armed services, the most strategic uniformed officer in Nigeria, also looked straight into a camera, was actually lambasting one of his this thing for not being apt in translating into French because he had some Cameroonian officers with him. Looked straight into the cameras and he told the Nigerian public that a ceasefire had been reached and that all officers of the Nigerian armed services should honor the ceasefire.
I recall that you were with us when that news broke, and if I could recollect very clearly what you said, there was a deadline actually for the release of the Chibok girls, and you said that if the Chibok girls actually were to be released, that you would formally declare your membership of the Boko Haram. How do you think that what needs to be done to bridge this gap of trust between the leadership and the people that are being led?
I recently started reading about fundamentalist and heretical Islam, the contemporary phase of fundamentalist and heretical Islam. And one can You know, one can start from, say, the quote-unquote, the Iranian Revolution 35 years ago. These are people who are motivated by a totally different reason than any other, you know, set of human beings fighting a warfare. They see themselves as fighters for the God they believe in. They justify all their heinous acts. They justify all the malady they perpetrate against the society they're contending with on the basis of Allah ordained it. It's quite unfortunate because mainstream Islam has made us realize that that is not the Islam that God willed for humanity through Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon his soul. But these guys are people who they have mental health issue. So if a nation is caught in the web that Nigeria is caught in now, I am one who believes that clandestinely or surreptitiously there should be a machinery in place to allow some elements amongst them who may want, like some who pretended to be representing the whole body of Boko Haram, to negotiate. Some may have been tired. Some may have been, let's say. But what ultimately will deal with characters like this is the use of strategic force. Force that is strategically orchestrated to eliminate, extirpate, totally deracinate them from our jurisdiction. But these are guys, in the first place, they are faith bastardizing, no honor respecting people. So what do you want to negotiate? Just keep a channel of negotiation that is going to be totally outside the context of your mainstream strategy of decimating their ranks, and that is the use of force that is strategically articulated.
From what we saw with the ceasefire deal, it's obvious that possibly the federal government is also vulnerable to any imposter who just comes up to say he is a general secretary or secretary general of the Boko Haram. Don't you think at this time the man Danladi Amadu should have been arrested and brought to book?
It is not impossible that the man may be, on paper, the general secretary of the elements who, the multitude of elements who call themselves Boko Haram, because in such a movement like that, in such an organization like that, it is actually going to be a confederation of opportunistic, radical, ideological, doctrinally disturbed people. And it will be very difficult for one person to fully represent them. Because, come to think of it, every so-called leader, every so-called factional leader within such a movement has his own agenda. So it's not impossible that the guy belongs to a forum where, renegade elements against the Nigerian states get to communicate but it's unfortunate that the Nigerian armed services and the Nigerian government were tricked into such a deception, and it's been costly now, because the reason why it's been costly was that before the announcement of the ceasefire, we had momentum on our side.
That's right.
We had momentum on our side. Unfortunately, as soon as the ceasefire was announced, maybe the guys tricked them as a kind of using it as a stratagem to overturn the misfortunes they were suffering then. It could have been a stratagem by these dishonorable elements. They deceived our people. Our armed services lowered their arms, and now they've gained, the Boko Haram people have gained momentum again. Major conurbations in Nigeria now are literally being taken over by these elements.
You know, talking about major places, of course, in Adamawa State, the commercial hub, Mubi, which happens to be the second largest, right?
Yeah.
And also the hometown of the Chief of Defense Staff. State House correspondents were able to speak with him yesterday, asking him questions like whether Nigerians are really helpless and the importance of having his very own hometown being taken over by the Boko Haram sect. This is what he said when State House correspondents caught up with him yesterday.
No, don't worry. We'll talk later. Are we helpless? How can Nigeria be helpless? How can Nigeria be helpless? No, that's not. His own home base.
They send movie
Listen. If CDF loses his hometown, it's the same thing as losing Lagos. It's the same thing as losing Enugu. Any part of Nigeria that is lost, CDS carries the weight. Okay, so you see, material, whether it's my hometown, whether it's my house that is burnt, or Emeka's house, or whoever's house burnt in Nigeria, the CDS is pained.
What is that?
Well, Abba, it doesn't seem quite disturbed about his hometown being taken. Many have called for his resignation, but is that really the way forward at this time?
In respectable jurisdictions, in politics where honor is consistent with the meaning of the word honor in a dictionary, a gentleman should have resigned. But we are where we are. We are in Nigeria. And like some commentators would say, only in Nigeria would such happen.
You recall that this is not the first time that we've experienced certain changes in the rank and file of the military in that order. But
no,
that has not changed.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying in a country where the speaker of one of the two chambers of your National Assembly has deliberately done something that is inconsistent with the Constitution that he swore to uphold when he was sworn in as a member of the chamber and when he was elevated first amongst equals, and nothing is happening and people are justifying that in a country where we have a sitting minister who practically, due to his ineptitude and incompetence and greed, killed so many youngsters. Your incumbent Minister of Immigration, you may have forgotten because bad stories always top up bad stories in Nigeria. He's still a member of the cabinet. In a country where, you see, but you know, God has not given up on our case. God has not given up on our case. It's just very disturbing sometimes when you think of the magnitude of incongruity, the magnitude of maladies, the magnitude of psychological and emotional abuses that an average Nigerian suffers every day. I'm telling you, in respective jurisdictions, he would have resigned. But in Nigeria, I don't expect him to resign. And to be honest with you, I don't even want him to resign. That is how.
But like, without not in any way trying to ridicule your in-depth analysis, but are we just going to sit down here, keep speaking grammar upon grammar?
Like Benjamin Disraeli once said, when a man keeps knocking at a mighty rock with a hammer, knock 1, knock 2, knock 3, knock 4, you may not even see any sign of the rock breaking. But when you give the 1,000 knock and the mighty rock breaks, it is not because that 1,000 knock is the most powerful knock. It is because all the 999 knocks previously had created the ultimate effect that the 1,000 knock, gave. The greatest asset to Nigeria today are people like you and platforms like this, media platforms like this, because Kampaore,
that's right,
spent 27 years after having murdered his best friend, and he thought the Burkinabes were so foolish he could just be spinning his trick on them. But at the 27th year, he spun one trick too many. The parliament is robotized stooge parliament was set ablaze.
You're not in any way suggesting a violent
I'm not suggesting, but I'm basically saying that if they think Nigerians are stupid, they are marking their scorecards for them.
Let's also consider the fallout of this so-called revolution around the world. You remember what happened in Libya after the gruesome murder by the popular majority of Muammar Gaddafi. Till today, the war still continues. It doesn't look like the alternative, the very viable alternative for any democracy in the world.
The best example of the Arab Spring, is actually where the Arab Spring commenced from, where it was initiated by a protesting young unemployed graduate who was reduced to selling fruits, and some local council officials were abusing him. Today, as we speak, one of the most respectable democracies on the continent of Africa is developing in Tunisia. So it is easy for people like you, as a journalist, who want good stories, to go to Libya and go to Egypt. But Tunisia ain't doing badly. Am I making a point, sir? The reason why Egypt and Tunisia are where they are is because, relative to Tunisia, they suffered a more elongated, more pronounced level of dictatorship and despondency. And we have seen in contemporary times, right from the fall of Yugoslavia to the fall of Soviet Union, we have seen, in Indonesia, we have seen that when a major dictator falls, a major dictator who had been gelling together different ethnicities within his polity by the sheer use of force, not democratic understanding and negotiation and agreement, we tend to see what happens in those nations. Forgetting what happened in Indonesia when Suharto fell, forgetting what happened in Soviet Union when Gorbachev caved in to this thing. See what happened in Eastern European countries when this thing. Look at what happened in Yugoslavia after the passage of Father Tito.
What exactly are the similarities between all of this with Nigeria as a country?
The similarity is that Nigeria is a wee bit blessed that we have a semblance, we have civil governance now. And in the last 15 years or thereabout, we seem to have been, we have not perfected it. We're still democratizing, but we are not a full-blown dictatorship. And within the context of the imperfection of our quote-unquote democracy or civil governance, at least people are joined. We just came out of the national conference. I didn't support it initially. I was against the fact that, it had democratic deficit in its composition. I was against it. But you see, one thing was glaring in that conference. All the major segments of society, men, women, civil society organizations, labor, social activism, the professions were represented in the district. And for the first time as a Nigerian, I must accept the fact that the recommendations are still in a state of constitutional cul-de-sac as we speak. They seem to be going nowhere fast as we speak, but they came out with recommendations that are somewhat more representative of the preponderant opinions of how our federation should be structured. Am I making a point, sir? So the difference is that we are just joined. The experience we are encountering now in the Northeast are the fallout of the failures of governance in the past and the inadequacy to catch up early enough with the new phase of civil governance. Let me give you a typical example. Even in Lagos, look at Lagos. The gentleman governor of Lagos has really done his best. He has done so well that international media organizations are now celebrating him. The Daily Telegraph recently, a reporter of the Daily Telegraph in England recently wrote a piece on Babatunde Fashola. It couldn't have been more romantic. It couldn't have been more, eulogizing. It couldn't have been more this thing. But the truth is that if we were to sit one-on-one with Fashola, the Fashola that I think I know, if we were to sit one-on-one with Fashola, he would probably score himself relative to the resources he had to use, because if the resources are also scarce, he would probably score himself not too gloriously as that guy has called him, because he knows on my way here now I had to call which direction to take, because if I took one of the entrances to your studio, my SUV could be sunken. I may have to call people to help me push another 5,000 naira.
You might eventually swim your way through.
You see, I heard you when you were saying that people are looking at you, looking dapper, sharply, this thing. They didn't know that this morning...
I'm really very cold on the inside.
They become sorry.
But then, are you baffled that we're having these rising insecurity very close to the forthcoming elections in 2015?
Yes and yes. And the reason is this. It is not peculiar to us. It is simple human psychology. Look, and I will want to beg your viewers to let me use my pedigree as the best example.
You are going to Mushin, I guess.
I'm going back to Mushin. You see, ordinarily, events get heightened and circumstances get charged. Níjọ́ eégún, níjọ́ táládò bá jáde, let me try and transliterate in English.
Because it's a national platform.
I know, and it's an English-speaking national and international platform. The days when an infamous masquerade in Mushin in those days used to come out. We used to call the masquerade Alado. The days that Alado would come out were days that anarchy, public disorder, the murders in those days, I'm not celebrating it and I regret it now, the murders of Hausa Fulanis would be more. We are generally approaching electioneering period. A lot of our youngsters are falling out of the social security order. And the only thing they subsist on now is violence, brigandage, and rascality. So, at about this time, they have to show the Baba Alayes who control the money, the politicians, that they can kill and kill well. They have to dramatize violence in such a way that, indeed, even within their order, the number 2 or number 3, who does not get called into the inner sanctum where Baba Alaye dispenses this thing, we want to orchestrate disorder to kill the brigand in front of him. So in moments like this, insecurity will be pronounced. It is unfortunate, though, that our police and our security operatives, just when they also should heighten should heighten security presence with a view to deterring some elements of in the world of criminality, they will suddenly remember that how can a policeman die? You will kick his wife and his children out of the barrack in less than 2 weeks after his death, and nobody has paid him, has paid them their final this thing. Even maybe his life is not even insured. Amo, I don't want to be a hero too. We have gotten so many things wrong, but you know what? I tend to tell people that it is not. I have lived in 3 societies in my life. I lived in Germany, my country of first residence when I left these shores. I lived in the UK. I partook in partisan politics in the UK. I contested election in the UK. And I tell people, in all these societies that people celebrate, the people who put orderliness and good governance in place are less than 10% of their population. The elite, people like you and I. It is our fault that Mufu fell down from the social security order and we did not have an alternative system to engage in, because Mufu may be dyslexic and may not be academically good, but it does not mean that Mufu is stupid. Richard Branson is dyslexic. One of the richest entrepreneurs, I was just reading about her in America recently, dyslexic. The Joe Jones, a major fashion line, the lady is dyslexic. Because you cannot read and write properly does not mean you are stupid. As I'm talking to you now, in one of the companies where I run, as the chief operating officer, in one of those companies, a major oil company is paying me to train 5,000 Nigerian mechanics, roadside mechanics, to be able to catch up with the latest technologies, computerized technologies in automobiles. As I'm talking to you now, 100 of them are seated onshore in the facility being trained by young graduates. And you see, they will tell them to go for break, and they will refuse to go. People like us are failing these people because they are not as intellectually vibrant and fecund as we are. Does not mean that you understand what I'm saying? So what I'm saying is this: security. Look, haven't you heard? Ever since I've ever known Nigeria, even as a young boy on the street of Mushin, that from the Baba month, you have to be very vigilant the way you conduct yourselves. Because some people, they have suddenly realized that we are now in September or October or November, and they have not made enough money to buy Christmas this thing. And some of them we also travel out to their this thing. So criminality increases.
And then the rush hour begins. Let me just hold you a little there. Let's open the phone lines for our viewership to find their place here. The phone line will come up on your screen at the moment from now. When you call in, endeavor to turn down the volume of your TV set, and let's keep the conversation on the phone. There's a little delay from what we say here in the studio and what you hear on your StarTimes device. So keep that in mind when you communicate with us, so we can do without the feedback distortion. Would you say, Gbolauba, that our priority as it is now is right? Is Boko Haram the biggest problem of Nigeria today?
The Boko Haram is the biggest symptom of Nigeria today. The biggest problem of Nigeria today is leadership. Boko Haram is the biggest symptom. You see, when you are feeling, when you are having headache, or when you are feeling feverishly hot, it's not the headache or it's not the hotness of the body that is the issue. Those are the symptoms. The fundamental problem is inside and must be nailed before the symptoms can be quenched. Boko Haram is the biggest symptom today of our maladministration, of our failure, of the historical failure of leadership. And I'm not saying this because I want to, like some partisan politicians will do, find every way to pin it on Goodluck Ebele Jonathan. It's not Goodluck Ebele Jonathan's making. He has not helped the matter because some of us believed that as a PhD holder, a man relatively better schooled than his predecessors, that at least it will make some, take some giant strides. We've seen it in Lagos. All the problems of Lagos have not been solved, but nobody can discountenance the years of Fashola. And I'm not saying this because this thing, he has given his best shot, but in Lagos is not Eldorado yet. There are still room, there are still rooms for major, tremendous improvement. But Boko Haram is as we speak now, our greatest symptom.
Just a minute, brother. Let's take this call from Emmanuel. Good morning, Emmanuel.
Okay, good morning.
Please go ahead with your contribution.
Actually, I want to ask, talking about insecurity. Like, the way the government is paying the bad. And I'm telling you, these are one of the reasons why youth go into so many erratic behavior, e.g. Yahoo. All of us know Yahoo is bad. And from that, some kids turn to Armstrong and so because they want to amass money from themselves. And due to that, again, there are some men in the police, in the military force, security operatives that support these people. As for that, what advice do you want to give to our government and sort of stuff?
Thank you, Emmanuel, for your contribution. Good to hear from you. Endeavor to turn down the volume of your TV when you call us next, Emmanuel. We really appreciate you. But let's move this discussion forward. But just before you...
don't want me to answer,
okay, please go ahead. Just react to Emmanuel's question in a moment.
Like I said earlier on, the elite, we are the one failing our society. Said I've lived in societies before where I know that less than 10% of the population get things done. Look, let me give you a typical example from Osun, where Emmanuel called from. Today, Osun State, and I don't quite totally support the way Alagba Aregbesola has gone about it.
Ogbeni
Rauf Aregbesola. I don't quite totally support the way he has gone about it because I believe, this is Bola Oba, I believe that when you give such a magnitude of a project, when you allow it to be totally manned by the civil service, they will fail you. Look, today Osun has the best automotive mechatronics training institute in the whole of this federation that is started by a government. Am I making a point? Now, if you are an Osun youth today and you probably didn't make 5 papers in your SS3 final exam, and you know you are good at, say, computing, electronics, or indeed automobile is your passion, you have an alternative route to go to become one of the best automotive mechatronics technicians on the face of the earth.
Sorry, I have to take a call now. Good morning. Who's there? Awat, right? Awal, please go ahead with the contribution. Go ahead, Awal.
Please, this issue has been discussed and quite interesting. Really, what I wanted to say, the person discussing to talk about is this issue of soldiers running away, leaving their equipment. There was a time when the CBS was saying, when someone wants to donate an AP to the Boko Haram, he will, as a Nigerian army, he will run away and leave the proceeds for Boko Haram to acquire it. But how soon is all these things coming up? If the Nigerian army continues pointing accusing fingers on their subject based on this thing, don't you think in time to come they will lose hope? They will find have a kind of don't have confidence in the service, in which at the end they go back to the insurgency. If they have more funds, in fact, I happen to be discussing with one of them on phone, on car, one of the leaders. He was always telling me that whenever the Nigerian army, they collect, then they call them, they go into confront with them. I will give you so amount, you people pay for me, go back, I'll put some dollars in the place, stick it. What do you think there is a kind of with the fear they have in mind that the Nigerian government is not really supportive? And I would like to please the person there on it, shed more light. Is there no threat on continued mutiny, continued accusation on the Nigerian army? Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Awal, all the way from Just. Good to have you join us. It was on the news yesterday, I believe, another 6 top-notch Nigerian army officials
and about 300 soldiers ran over to Cameroon. But you see, I've read so many military strategy books in my life, and there is one particular military strategy book that is very, very popular worldwide. The Art of War, written by Sun Tzu. And in The Art of War, one of the reasons why armies fail is when they see that their leadership, both political, that is the sovereign, both political and the military leadership, if they lack the moral latitude that the soldiers, the full soldiers, can key into. When you want to lead people, the greatest asset of leadership is actually moral command. He says I should do it, and I will do it because I know that Mr. Bola Oba, whatever happens to me, will be there not only for me, will be there for my mother, will be there for my wife, will be there for my children. When an average Nigerian soldier does not see that moral leadership in the banner he is fighting for, my brother, they will do a runner, because they know that once they are killed, they know what may happen to friends and to family members.
Okay.
So, but you see, having said that, we need to, it boils down to you and I again. The soldier, you know, those who end up being soldiers, those who end up being soldiers are people who ordinarily at a point in their life, not officers, I mean men, other ranks of this thing. They are people who usually at a point in their lives ran into a war, and amongst the alternatives that life presented them is a military commission. You understand? And they've gone into it. If such people were to be well led, because they are volunteer army, you can get the best from them. Our boys are not lazy.
There are many even joining as a result in
unemployment, you want to say?
Challenges and all of that.
Did you say? No, repeat yourself, sir.
I said there are many joining now as a result of economic challenges, even across board. But then, I also love to take you up. I was with Dikwa Olayoko yesterday, and he also was of the opinion that one of the major challenges we're being faced in this part of the world is leadership. It's also apprehensive that because of the rising insecurity, Nigerians, out of fear, might not actively participate in the forthcoming general elections. Now, for me, it's like we are in between the devil and the deep blue sea. If we need leadership right, then we need people to go out and participate. But then how do we match all of this together in the face of insecurity? We'll do more justice on that after this break. You're watching Cold Digest Wednesday. Stick around. Don't go away.
Has it been a difficult task for you to purchase exquisite, classic, durable and sturdy furniture that will last the test of time? Here is good news for you. Purchase high-quality furniture for your household, offices, hotels and schools at Prince Interior Furnishing and Furniture Company Limited. Office address, Goshen Plaza, Showroom 28, Kubo Furniture Market, AYA, Nyanya Road, Abuja. Telephone 0803 119 1444 or 09291 7482. Email princeemeka240@yahoo.com. info@princeinterior.com. Website www.princeinterior.com. Purchase your furniture at Prince Interior Furnishing and Furniture Company Limited. Classic, strong, exquisite.
So do I still have to tell you where you need to flag off your goods and services if you intend to do that? Checking out for a national platform to do so. I mean, I don't have to use words. Pictures speak louder than words now. Okay, you know exactly what to do. Now, Bolaba is still very much right here with me. I know you don't like to hear about the Noi polls, but it's in the news again. And what we do on the show here is a core digest of stories trending. Now, the Noi polls now says that the approval rating for President Goodluck Jonathan has dropped by 14 points to 60%. Now, the pollsters described the decline as substantial a few weeks after Jonathan's job rating hit the 74% mark. NOI polls noted in the statement also that the drop in rating may have a lot to do with the failed promises on a ceasefire deal with the Boko Haram insurgents, as well as failure to secure the release of the abducted Chibok schoolgirls. There are also concerns over the worsening power supply across the country, amidst many other things. But do you see this particular issue?
And they said that the NOIC people basically are telling us that some weeks ago, President Goodluck Jonathan's rating was as high as 75%.
That's right. And it has now dropped to 60%. But do you see this particular insecurity
challenge? No, don't be too fast. Don't be too fast. No. Anybody did a genuine polling in today's Nigeria in the last 2 years, and they're telling me that the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, Goodluck Jonathan, has garnered in recent times as much as 75% poll rating. They are playing Okoto. You know what we used to call Okoto?
Just a minute, let's take this call from Mustafa.
They are playing Okoto on your emotions.
Good morning, Mustafa. Mustafa, are you there? Yeah, go ahead with the contribution, brother.
Yeah, I'm there. Good morning.
Morning.
Hello, good morning.
Go ahead, Mustafa, we're with you.
Yeah, I want to talk about this insurgency.
Go ahead, oh, my brother.
I actually... Yeah, so to bring to light this issue of Alimodu Sharif and Insecurity that is still pending with the Nigerian administration.
I'm afraid we lost that. Now, when you speaking with us on the phone, I've said this several times, you have to totally put up the volume on your StarTimes TV. Now, what it does is that if you're speaking and then you're probably waiting to hear yourself again, we're going to have a very, very distorted feedback system here. And it's really going to affect the quality of the call that we have with you. But thank you for your call, Mustafa. We'd love to hear from you again subsequently all the way from Zaria. Back to this Jonathan written. Well, there's no way, I know you do not agree with this, but there's no way we can confirm except we conduct our own poll as well.
You see, what I am saying here, or what I'm reiterating here, which I had once said on this hallowed platform, is that, look, let any Nigerian watching us now, the next set of callers who will call in after Mustafa, let them tell us that at any point in time, could they, even the ardent supporters of President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, could they have rated the president having 75%
Emeka is holding on the call. Good morning, Emeka. Emeka, are you there? Yeah, go ahead with your contribution, please.
Okay, yeah, good morning. I want to make contribution in what you people are discussing. First of all, I have observed that the man who is seated there is talking from a non-partisan point, and that gives me some hope. You see, about the insurgency that is going on in Nigeria, when you look at the way things are going, this thing is happening not just because that Jonathan is not doing well, but because a section of the country feels that leadership of this country should remain perpetually in their hands. And by the time we look at what is now happening, then we now go back to the fact that Jonathan has only been in seat for just the first time. Then you will understand that the problem of this country is not Jonathan's military. Secondly, this insurgency is not as if the voice with arms that is fighting Nigeria, that they are more than the Nigerian army can handle. But there is a major problem of sabotage within the leadership. And this leadership I am talking about are people that are supporting the opposition, but they are within the government, the government of the day. Then how long will this take us if we continue to live like this? The opposition has failed us. If they feel that the government has failed us because they have not made enough statement to show that they are not in support of what is happening, they are toying with the lives of Nigeria. And you want us to vote for you to come to power. Assuming Jonathan is pushed out with arms, with guns, and the next man takes over from the north, does it mean that south of Nigeria don't have access to arms? I will want to suggest that people should think in whatever they are doing. The lives that are being shared in the north, they are the lives of Muslims, Christians, Northerners, Easterners, and Westerners. And you keep telling us that we should give you our vote to lead us. I think it is not fair. The opposition should come out in one voice and support the people in power to convince the people that, look, we are against what is happening. What they are doing is, when they come out, they make a scanty comment and they retreat. The belief of most Nigerians is that the Boko Haram is the armed opposition of the present-day opposition party, and that is all. You can't take anything away from it. If Nigeria is united, I bet you, Boko Haram will not take Nigerian army 1 week to be thrown out of this country. That is the problem. Except the people fighting Jonathan are within the government and outside the government. It's as simple as that. That's the point I want to make.
Thank you very much for your contribution, Emeka.
So let me quickly chip this in the backdrop of the very important point that Emeka just made. You see, in 1997, I was a candidate of the Conservative Party in England for the London Borough of, St. Mary's Ward, London Borough of Greenwich then is now Royal Borough of Greenwich. And the party leaders called us for briefing, the contestants. And that was just a couple of months after Tony Blair came into power, defeated a conservative party, the Conservative Party. And when we got to the local party office, the party chieftains were actually telling us that whenever we get to the door front or the door mouth and we want to talk to the people, we should contrast ourselves with the Labour Party based on our ideological disposition, our, which, and how that would instruct our local policies that will favor the people, let them get value for their money. But on security, the IRA was still a menace then in the UK. On security, if anybody asks you questions on security, just tell them. And this was the Conservative Party briefing, just tell them you are in full support of what the national government was doing. Like Emeka rightly said, even the opposition is failing us in Nigeria. I believe that they ought to have tried, to have been seen to have stood in good alignment with the government on the issue of Boko Haram. But to want to be, and the two main parties have failed in this respect, but to want to be using Boko Haram for partisan gains is sheer stupidity.
But would you agree with Emeka on his perception that the major source of all of these challenges is that a certain part of the country believes that leadership should perpetually come from them?
You see, I cannot say Emeka has not made a point in logic. I try my best to be balanced on issues of national sensitivity. We must realize that a larger percentage of the people in the north, especially the ill-educated ones, the lowly educated ones who we know have been failed by the past leaders from the north, indeed believe that it should be their birthright for political leadership to be residual.
Just a minute.
In their ranks.
Ibrahim is on the line. Good morning, Ibrahim. Ibrahim, good morning.
Okay. Thank you, gentlemen, that I'm speaking there. Thank you very much. Thank you, gentlemen, that I'm speaking there. Thank you, and thank you, media. You see, there's one problem about this country that all of us have to understand. Nigeria is bigger than any president, anybody, I repeat, anybody. There must be a country before a president. So whatever we are saying about the unity of this country, the progress of this country, sentiment should be thrown abroad. People should concentrate on what brings us together as a nation. What exactly we should do as people of this country. Because we don't have any other people in this country. See, the issue of this insurgency we are talking about, fine. Maybe the opposition might have gone out of it in terms of their speeches. Why would not give them credit for that? But for God's sake, what has that got to do with all the institutions put in place for the security of this country? We have the Army, we have the Navy, we have the Air Force, we have all the other apparatus in place. For God's sake, we have the House Committee on Security, Senate Committee on Security, all sorts of things on security. Iraq, people on this country, day and night. And somebody is now blaming opposition here, somebody is blaming political parties here, somebody is blaming whoever. Can't these institutions be insulated from all this and let them do their proper job? This is a very serious issue. People are dying in thousands. People are leaving their houses. People are vacating their streets in the fear. And we still feel it like nothing is happening. We must get serious as a nation. And we must take as our responsibility. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Ibrahim, for your contribution. Calling all the way from Bina. Quite very inspiring to see Nigerians from across board actively participating in this. It looks as if Boko Haram is
a menace that is
uniting
affecting
us more than dividing us.
It's a menace that is affecting all of us. If you are a Nigerian entrepreneur today and you are talking to people abroad, I just came back a couple of days ago from Turkey. I was in the private residence of a business partner of mine. You know, he's English and Turkish. He was born Turkish. I was in his private residence, and he took his family members, seeing me, seeing how robust I look, seeing how clean I was, for them to tell him, which he interpreted to me that the people in Nigeria must be doing well because this man is looking good.
And big.
You know, you understand what I'm saying? This is neither Ankara or Istanbul. It is a town called Edremit, a town of about 20,000 people. You know, in Balıkesir province of Marmara region, the hinterland of Turkey. But because the news they get to hear about Nigeria are just, you know, this kind of Boko Haram, and once they hear Boko Haram, they easily just compare it to Al-Nusra, they compare it to ISIS, they compare it to Al-Shabaab, and they think all of us are literally... It is affecting everybody. We cannot be so delusional to think that everything is hunky-dory. My brother, if this small finger has whitlow, you will be a crazy man not to think that, you know, a major invasion and abuse of your physiology is the whitlow, and you want to find a way of eliminating it. It does not speak well of us in the Committee of Nations that a sizable chunk of our territory has been taken over by some faith bastardizing people, and they are proclaiming a caliphate which is inconsistent with what the mainstream of people who believe in genuine Islam and Allah, what the mainstream of believers in Allah, you know, espouse. So, you know, we better know that is our common problem, and that instructs what I said that maybe Mustafa may have misinterpreted. The truth is that the primary line of defense, the primary line of waging war against Boko Haram in Nigeria should be the Nigerian armed services, the Nigerian paramilitary services, the Nigerian political leadership, the Nigerian whatever. But amongst the political leadership too is the opposition. We must be standing with the government, not only in trading ideas, but indeed in vehemently condemning the Boko Haram people. As President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan failed us in his manner of approach. Yes, for me, Balaba, he has failed me tremendously. I see a man who is a bit too laid back, a man who is a bit this thing. But you know what? As the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, I would rather support him than support Boko Haram.
It's all right. But beyond all of that, let us look at the mathematics, what is now being termed the mathematics of Boko Haram in the 2015 general election.
You are going there again.
Because many of the presidential aspirants now, when you hear them speak, the first thing they want to address is insecurity. Atiku Abubakar spoke yesterday about talking about international help. And
he has lost half of his state of origin.
That's right.
Half of his state of origin. In fact, we have lost a sizable chunk of Adamawa and a sizable chunk of Borno, and these infidels who want to claim the good faith of Islam, they have actually proclaimed, you know, a caliphacy, an abhorrent caliphacy of a sort.
Let's take this call just a minute. Good morning. I can't get your name. Oloro or what?
Okoro.
Okoro.
Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning.
How are you?
Terrific.
I'm calling from Owerri, Imo State. Yes. I'm listening to your program.
Okay, go ahead.
The program is nice, but I want to contribute something in Nigeria. Since our president, Goodluck Jonathan, entered into that state, there's much problem in Nigeria. I don't know why. Other people have ruled. Many people have ruled, even from northern and western. They have ruled Nigeria. But why is it now? Why is it now? You hear Boko Haram, you hear kidnapping, you hear this, you hear that in Nigeria. Even the politicians killing themselves because of one thing. So I said, let you people call all the former presidents, tell them together a meeting, announce the solution of this problem in Nigeria.
Okay, I think the line is
a big challenge there.
Our president is trying. He's trying. Formally, there's no way in this country. Formally, go to Ore. If you are passing Ore by air, by road, yes, but now there's road.
I'm afraid that we lost the quality of sound on that communication. Please try us later, Okoro. Good to hear from you.
The Council of State met yesterday. About 4 past heads of government were there. These people have a channel of communication. I think as a result of historic failure of leadership, these people do not have any reliable connection with the grassroots in even the areas they come from. I don't think, this is Bola Obao, I may be wrong, I don't think former President Babangida, is sick now. We pray that he comes into good health early enough. But if he comes into good health, he cannot take a careless stroll on the street of Mina.
Does what Okoro said strikes you that this is the first time we're going to have a president from the south region of Nigeria? Is it by chance that all of this is happening at this time? Please hold that call for a while.
Some elements, given the circumstance of the emergence of President Goodluck Jonathan, some elements in the north were very hyped by the fact that it should have been their tenure, and they, because of the circumstance of the demise of, his former principal officer, is now using, that is number one. Number two is that even
just before you go to number two, let's hear Bello out. Good morning, Bello.
Please go on with you.
Bello, go ahead with the contribution, please.
Morning. Good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, morning.
Yes, I'm calling from Kano. I think the discussion is really touching on the nerve of some of the issues that we are actually facing in this country. But most of these discussions or blames being pointed at different sectors of the country. They may be well founded, but the truth is that they are all based on old political prejudices. For instance, the assumption that the North insists to have power is actually rooted to the original sin that this country committed when it was being founded, simply for political gamesmanship. Now it has escalated to the point where it is entrenched and actually causing a kind of ostracism, to put it like that. Just the same way as from the North, we also have this kind of prejudices that we look at other sectors of the country as having had initial or early exposure to Western civilizations.
They believe they have the birthright to dominate the technocracy, the business sector, and so on. These are all prejudices that 21st century should actually go beyond. Now, first, when we talk about the Boko Haram issue, on recent times, what the North is partly and maybe justifiably worried about is that actually the government, the people in authority, denied initially that there was anything like that. Much as no father, no parent, no society will just rise up and begin to kill its own people, its own children, its own grandchildren. I mean, for goodness sake, people have to understand, like the gentleman is saying, that this is a national, and actually, people have to look up to the government, to the authorities, to the people who are responsible to protect us, our lives, our properties, and our livelihoods. Now, these are the kind of things that need to be solved. Now, we need a common denominator in this country today that will dissolve these old prejudices and begin to look at issues as would a 21st century society should. You have been to Turkey. You have seen that much as probably you may not have come from the north, you did not escape the preconceived notion of what Nigeria represents. So whether you are from the north or you are from the south, the east or the west, this phenomenon is founded on the very fundamentalist. You find that the phenomenon of Boko Haram is actually manifested one way or another in the east, in the west. The only thing you may not call it Boko Haram today, but it will manifest in some other form that has the same problem. In fact, if you look at immediate history of the country, such problems have actually manifested in very many forms. In Lagos, in the west, in the east, and so on.
Thank you, Bello. I believe that you made your points there.
Is to begin to identify.
Thank you for your contribution. Did you hear him actually when he said that the feeling of perpetual leadership is mutual? That in the north, there's also the feeling that because the west had initial...
Because you people are a bit more educated,
exactly,
you have dominated the technocracy, you have dominated the technocracy or whatever. You see, ultimately, it boils down to a point I flirted with earlier, but I didn't quite have good enough time to, look, barring the oil-rich countries of the Middle East, look at any other prospering economy on the face of the earth. The greatest asset of those economies, human capital, human beings. The extent to which you invest in the qualitative development of your human capital will instruct the degree to which they will mutually understand each other. Look, it will be easy. The last caller from the north, I think his name was Bello. From Kano. His name was Bello. It is easy for Bello and I to agree. You know why? We have one central factor working well for the two of us. He is educated, I am educated. Although, at a point, he will think about the majority of his people. I will think about the majority of my people. But education will at least bring us to a point where we know that he doesn't have to draw out his dagger and I don't have to use my betu-betu. Am I making a point? The past leaderships have failed us, irrespective of wherever they came from. If we had invested well enough in all those young 11 to 13 million young boys who dropped below the social welfare order and ended up being almajiris, if we had invested well enough in them, they would have today become demographic dividend, not demographic dividends. Because some of them are people doing the foot surgery for Boko Haram. You may not know. There's some easy recruiting this thing. But past leaders have failed there. That is why I am not a supporter of Goodluck Ebele Jonathan, and I viscerally loathe the PDP in many respects. Okay. But I am one who believes that some people should cut him some slack whatever we are suffering now, good luck, Ebele Jonathan did not spin it into place. Past leaderships too have failed us and brought us to this juncture.
Let's take this call from Ajiboye. Good morning. Good morning, Ajiboye.
Hello, good morning.
Go ahead with the contribution, please.
Hello, good morning.
Morning.
Yeah, I want to make my own contribution. Can you say that the Boko Haram issue in Nigeria is not really an issue? Because we already had in the past government of Obasanjo, Yaradua, anything like that. Or if the existence is not being blown up the way it is now. It's not being used as a distraction to play politics, to embezzle money. That's why I said it's not an issue in Nigeria. It's because some sides are enjoying it and are using it to demoralize other minorities, the citizens, taking people's lives. If you be looking at directly from another angle, the president can Boko Haram bigger than Nigeria. If the present government cannot handle Boko Haram, it's not worthy to be the president of Nigeria. It should be a straightforward affair. If Boko Haram is bigger than Nigeria as a country, as an institution, it's not supposed to be so. We are looking at it that the present government is using Boko Haram as a distraction because of their own personal political undertone. During the time of Obasanjo, there is Boko Haram. During the time of Yaradua, there is Boko Haram. Why is it that it is now that it is being blown up? They should contain it. It's a thing that can be contained. That is my contribution.
Thank you, Ajiboye. I wish that you can come with proofs on the table to prove all that you've said, just like the former president also should have proved when he accused that the present administration is training snipers. You recall that Nasir El-Rufai also came up recently to say that Tambuwa is one of those people that should have been killed by the snipers or so, and that was why the IGP removed the security details. But Ajiboye is from that school of thought that believes that Boko Haram is a distraction and that there are certain people feeding fat on it. There are lots of money being budgeted into security that is being needed for politics. What are your thoughts along that line?
I am one who tries to be very conservative when I have a very hallowed platform like this.
Okay.
Politicians, partisans, and people who have different political colorations, who bear different political colorations, and who may be distinctly opposite the position of the president, can try to rationalize any incongruity just to stigmatize him and further show that he is not worthy of being our leader. I also believe that President Goodluck Ebele Jonathan has failed. And he has failed so much for me because I was one of those who, although I knew him somewhat personally, and I was not too hopeful, but I was thinking that if probably when given the best jersey in the team, he would rise up to the occasion and perform. But for me, where I am now, Balawaba, he has not quite impressed me too tremendously. But I will not say that the Goodluck Ebele Jonathan that I know would deliberately be orchestrating this malady against Nigeria because of his political gain. No.
Let's hear Bassi out. Good morning, Bassi. Bassi, are you there?
Morning.
Morning. Go ahead with the contribution.
Contribute to your program. So the problem that we are having in country The problem that we have in Nigeria today, though we may heap it on Jonathan, I don't think Jonathan is the cause of our problem. Our cause of our problem might be traced back to the founding fathers of this country. What we see is that the founding fathers of this country did not have the nationalistic spirit to carry every sector, every section of Nigeria along. They were playing a kind of, tribal politics, that this particular tribe want to be superior to the other. So that's the problem that Boko Haram that comes up is just a fallout of the bad leadership, just like what that my gentleman is saying. So if we want to solve the problem that we have in Nigeria today, because what we are looking for now is a way forward, a way that there will be a kind of peace and progress economically in Nigeria. So we have to go back to rudiments. So the question now is, how do we now see how we can now come together and advise those people that call themselves Boko Haram to lay down their arms and see how we can support the government of the day so that the country can be grown economically and otherwise. So that is my contribution. Thank you.
Thank you, Bassi, calling us all the way from Port Harcourt, I believe. Well, let's take this discussion a bit further.
Port Harcourt, Jos. I should be begging to work here, mate.
I mean, and you should be telling people to bring their goods and services here.
To be honest with you, yes. Because
it's on fire, can't you see?
Kano, Jos, Owerri, Port Harcourt,
Abuja, Mina, and everywhere.
In one program. Advertise.
It's all right. We're going to Emsura. Can you just look for a clips for me? I mean, a particular clip where we had internally displaced persons in Adamawa. I'm sure that we used that yesterday. The UN, just yesterday, has allocated $3.5 million. That's about 580 million naira for humanitarian operations in northeast Nigeria. We have a situation in our hands where thousands of Nigerians, some have even called them millions, but NEMA, National Emergency Management Agency, has said more than 740,000 people have been displaced since January 2014 in northeast Nigeria alone, not to talk about many people who are in Cameroon and all of that. How do you think that this particular situation should be handled, especially when you consider that these people are Nigerians? We spoke with some of them yesterday, and a particular young man said, it's not just about bringing food and water. We want to go back to our home.
To be honest with you, we were joking when suddenly you raised that issue, and every sinew of my body just... Because, my brother, it is not only about eating or drinking water. I traveled abroad. I lived in some of the best societies that have been so espoused on the face of the earth. My brother, as an upper middle class Nigerian who lives in Lekki, occasionally when I'm driving through Ikorodu Road or when I'm driving to Agegemoto Road, I still drive into Mushi to just take a huge emotional thing from my natal place where I was born, the streets I played on, some of the pranks I played, some of this thing. For a man to be totally deracinated, or for a human being to be totally deracinated from the place of his back. We are breeding danger in this country.
Let me just hold you for a moment. We have a maker on the line.
Okay.
Is the maker calling again?
I'm back again.
Please go ahead.
Yeah, I'm back again. Yes, I called earlier and I'm back again. Okay. The point I actually is this. As a Nigerian, and when you look at my name, you will understand that I am from the southeast of Nigeria. And as a matter of fact, I am not clamoring for Jonathan because he is from my state or he is my tribesman. As a person, it doesn't matter to me whoever the president of this country is. So long as he manages the economy of this country in a way that it benefits every every citizen of Nigeria. If you like, you can go and bring a man from the north and let him remain there for 30 years, so long as every Nigerian gets what is due to him. I am satisfied. But you see, there is also the need for people to feel a sense of belonging. That was the reason that Jonathan being there is the cause of the problem. But again, let me still make another point. The point I want to make in addition is this. When Jonathan took over power, he made it clear that it is not business as usual. I say this because when people talk, they will say Boko Haram has been there long before now. Why is it that it is now brewing problem during Jonathan's time? I now challenge a friend and said, if Jonathan is now the cause of the problem, that Boko Haram has been there and others have managed it well, why is it that Jonathan is not managing it well? And you know what he told me? Jonathan refused to play the ball as others were playing. And when I tried to find out what the ball is, he said to allow them to share the resources of this country, just within a few people. When I talk about Boko Haram and opposition, remember I didn't mention any party. There are members of PDP that are opposed to Jonathan's leadership. There are members of other parties. We have close to 30 parties in Nigeria. Boko Haram is being sponsored by those who are opposed to Jonathan's style of leadership that does not allow for a few people to share our money. It is neither PDP, APC, Labour Party, by whatever name you call them. They know themselves that have come together as a clique and are sponsoring this gruesome murdering of innocent Nigerians. That's the point.
It's all right, Emeka.
Look.
I'm afraid that
He's made his point, actually.
And I believe you made your point. And that's going to be our last caller on the show today. Thank you very much, guys. Let's wrap this all up now, because there seems to be different angles, different perception, different reactions to this. What way forward, especially as we count down to 2015 general elections? What way forward to settle all these roaring dusts of insecurity in Nigeria?
Our security chieftains, who are the heads of our security agencies and infrastructure, our intelligence chieftains must make sure that they rally their troops. Rally their troops in such a way that we all should realize that what is happening in the Northeast, some people may be thinking, some people may be thinking like that, but that is foolishness. Foolishness if people are thinking in that way. This is a cancer in the body of Nigeria, and Nigeria, for those of us who are smart enough to know, is a fantastic asset for all of us. Every corner of this country is a fantastic asset for all of us. And you see, I tell people, China is today celebrated as the second most powerful economy on the face of the earth, not because China, when you look at per capita income, this thing, not because an average Chinese lives better than an average Swiss person, or not because an average Chinese lives better than an average Swede, but China is now celebrated as the second biggest economy on the face of the earth because of the advantage of population. Nigeria is the biggest market in Africa. We can use it better for the beneficence of everybody in Nigeria if we get our acts together, but nobody will come or bring his good this thing if they see that we keep atrophying as we are atrophying now, and some ingrates are declaring caliphacy, a caliphacy of a sort within our borders.
Well, Oba, I must say a big thank you to you for making it on the show today. It's been raining all day in Lagos, and we really apologize that we could not bring you the papers, but it just came in now. Just in case you're yet to see it, I can just show you. Let's hope that my camera here can pick it. This is The Guardian. Amazingly, you have internally displaced persons fleeing Mubi to Maiha following Boko Haram's invasion and capture of Mubi yesterday. And this looks like some movie to me. People carrying their loads on their head. You can see that, Boloba. It's so
It reminds one of Rwanda in the days of the genocide.
I mean, hundreds.
Rwanda, Burundi, and some parts of Congo.
Let me just quickly flip through for the benefit of our viewers. Hundreds flee Mubi as Boko Haram takes over. The riders here group renames town Madinatu Islam. Shetima alerts military to terrorist planned attack. Potiskum death toll rises to 82 and insurgents burn PDP secretariat, kill soldiers, others. Okupe faults Atiku on violence. It's day 205, and that's what The Guardian has to say. And on the front page of the Vanguard this morning, Boko Haram renames occupied Mubi town, says Mubi now to be called Madinatu Islam, warns against holding elections, vows to capture entire state, insurgents on rampage in Gombe, attack police station. And of course, you have fuel tank explosion, kills 20 in Kwara, Tamboa PDP House leaders buckle, that's on page 8. And Senegal, courts declines to stop coroner's inquest. 2015 budget in danger as crude drops to $82. All right, let's see what the nation has today. Another gory sight here, a bloody man, an injured Shite member sits on the ground after a suicide blast in Potiskum that was in Yobe State on Monday. There's another presidential aspirant here under the platform of the APC, Mr. Nda Isaiah. PDP has failed, says APC aspirant Nda Isaiah on the front page of the nation. PDP crisis, senators revolt against Jonathan, lawmakers angry as governors hijack congresses. The PDP is already gone. We're not doing the job of governors, but the governors want to do our job. So we have decided to shut down the government. Fire me, DS Fire Share, probe me. Stop cheap blackmail. That's on page 9 of the nation. Finally, on the Punch, it has the same picture of a suicide bomb survivor, an injured Shite member after Monday's suicide blast in Potiskum, Yobe State. Tamboa DS PDP returns to work, opens public hearings. That's on page 7. And APC legislators act as speaker security men. Party grieves majority leader over Tamboa. Many more interesting stories. We apologize we could not bring you that earlier. Well, but once again, thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much for the opportunity. Once again, I'm quite honored and humbled.
We hope that's
and I do want to tell your viewers that if they really want to reach Nigeria, this is a fantastic platform to use.
Okay, Bolaba said it all. If you missed the show today, watch out for a repeat broadcast at 12 a.m. That's later at midnight. Of course, Core Digest continues tomorrow with more exciting, in-depth review and analysis of issues as they evolve. I'll keep you up to date. Core TV News has been, what they call it now, nominated in the Nigerian Broadcasters Media Award. We'll let you know how you too can vote tomorrow on the show. Stick around, don't go away as we bring you top of the hour news. I am Nifemi Oguntoye. Thank you for watching.
Core TV News, expanding your views.